Hi all, I'd like to do a video on how to start a snowplow company. Right from the start, I like to say I'm new at this. I'm new at snowplowing. I just bought the plow about a year ago and we haven't had a lot of snow, so I haven't had a lot of chance to use it, and things that I have learned, I've stumbled through trying to learn this stuff. I want to thank you guys who make the comments on YouTube. I really learned a lot. I don't mind the harsh comments. You know, that's when we learn the most. You know, I'm hoping by doing this video that we get a lot of comments from the experienced guys and gals who have been snowplowing a long time. I wish I would have had a video like this when I first got started. Things that I'm saying now, it's like I wish I would have heard that before. And I researched buying a snowplow for probably close to 2 years on YouTube and the web, and you just don't hear this stuff out there. Now, that being said, I'm new at snowplowing, but I'm not new at running a business. Okay, I have a 4-year degree from Kent. I ran a small music store back in the 90s for 8 years. I taught music. It was a music instruction studio. Averaged about 60 students a week. Freestanding building on Main Street in my town, small town. So I'm not new at running a business. The only reason I closed the music store up is I love the teaching, but crime just got too bad, and I was a sitting duck there alone in the store by myself, and I just didn't want to deal with that anymore. You know. So that being said, I put together this text file. It's got a few points. You know, there's some points on here you could do whole videos on, or even multiple videos on. But I just want to skim through these so I can get it into one video now, and then maybe we'll come back and hit some of the more important points in future videos. Most important point would be finding a truck. You know, there's not a lot of snow this year where I live. This is January 2017. So there's going to be a lot of snowplows for sale this spring. Where you live, there might be a lot of snow. So. But in my research, before I bought my plow, it seemed like there was a lot of plows for sale in the spring. And then, from what I remember, late fall, because it seemed like the guys who snowplow would trade in their old plow and buy a new one right before winter came. So it seemed like there was a lot of older plows right before winter broke. Now, you can find them during the summer too. You know, I mainly stuck with AutoTrader, AutoTrader.com, and I did look around Craigslist a little bit, but I didn't find anything decent in my area. And then just buying an old plow, I couldn't find any old plows. You know, maybe in your area it might be different, but in my area, from what I remember, the only plows were so rusty you wouldn't want to pay money for them. Okay, but if you're new at this, and I'm presuming you're watching this video because you don't know a lot about snowplowing, you know, if you're experienced at snowplowing, you probably aren't watching this video. So So, knowing what I know now, if you're new at this, don't buy a truck without a plow. Try to find a truck with a plow already installed. And I say that because if you go out and buy a used plow somewhere, you can't tell if it works. You can't tell if all the parts are there. It's just, you're just buying someone else's headache. Okay. Now, if you know how to work on things, that's another story. You can buy an old plow and fix it up. But if you're watching this video, you're probably not that type of fella. You're just looking for a job. You want to start snow plowing. I've read comments where guys say they never buy a truck with a plow. Well, that just tells me how they treat their truck. If they own that truck, they wouldn't be beating it up. So that's really your call. But if you're just getting started, you can get a nice truck with a plow for $10,000 or under. I would go with the F250 or something similar. I wouldn't go 150. I read somewhere that 150s just aren't built for snow plowing. I'm not mechanical, so I can't tell you the details there. But I've read that the F250s are built a lot tougher, so it probably has something to do with the frame and the engine and the transmission and stuff like that. So I've read that the 250s will last a long time. So I'm presuming you can really beat them up. And then even if you buy a used truck and the transmission or engine does go out, you're getting a $50,000 truck for $5,000. It's worth it to throw a new engine in it. Especially if you got a buddy that's working in his backyard. You can go down to some shop and get a used engine and throw it in there fairly cheap. So I know I have a fella that lives just a couple houses away. He can put an engine in. He hangs it from the tree and puts it into the truck. So if it works, it works. It's a work truck. You aren't carting your family around in it. So main thing is, when you buy a used truck, make sure the plow works. Hoses are okay. The hoses aren't leaking. You'll see fluid on the ground. How rusty is it? I've seen some used plows that they're rusted right through the blade. So I wouldn't buy anything like that unless you know how to weld. Now, if you can get it really cheap, that's another story. I know I looked at a couple who were $5,000 F250s with a plow, really rusty. If it works, it just depends on how much work you want to put into the truck. New trucks are very expensive. Even for one off the lot, I haven't priced them, but just glancing around the web a little bit, you're talking $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 just for a truck, not counting the plow. Decent plow, you're going to spend $5,000 and up. I've seen them cheaper, but I've seen plows go for as little as $2,000 or $3,000, but they aren't strong plows. I bought some stone a few weeks ago, and just stone for my driveway. And the fellow that worked behind the desk used to snowplow. He started talking to me about it because he saw my truck with the sign on the side, and he said he used to snowplow Once I found out he snowplowed, I kept him going for a half hour or more. I really learned a lot from him. But what he told me was, he pointed to his truck sitting outside, and he said, that's just a 150. What he said was it came with a plow, but he took the plow off because he didn't buy it for plowing. He just wanted the truck. But he said it can't push nothing. It didn't have the strength to push the heavy snow. So, that's why it's a good idea to go with a 250 if you want to get into the heavy snow. Buy in the spring. In late fall, it seemed like the prices started to go up. At the car dealers, they started to raise the price because they knew they were going to sell them. So, I'd say 5 to 10,000. It depends on how rich you are. I'm sure there's guys out there that are willing to spend more, but I'm thinking for fellas just getting started, you could find nice plows for under 10,000 easy. You just have to look around. Place that I found mine, it was a truck dealer. They specialized in selling trucks. And it was a big dealer in the city. And they took a lot of trade-ins. So I think mine was a trade-in. They traded it in to buy another truck. And they really don't care. They just want to get it off the lot, so they sell them cheap. And the reason why I say this 5,000, that same place just a few months ago, me and my neighbor went there, and they had probably at least 4 or 5 there on the lot under 5,000. Sure, a couple of them were beat up, but they were 250s with a plow, a little bit of work, and you'd have a really nice truck. Hoping that the transmission was good and the engine was good. Now you don't want it to last forever. You just want a starter truck. Something to get you going. We're talking about starting a snowplow company. It must be a 4-wheel drive. It seems silly, but I remember reading somewhere the fellow was actually asking, does it need to be a 4-wheel drive? Well, of course, you're snow plowing snow. Now, it depends on where you live. If you get light snow, if you're down in the southern part of the country, you might not see lots of snow. So you might be able to get away with a 2-wheel drive, but I can't recommend that. Go out on YouTube and watch a few of the videos where the guys are getting stuck in the snow, and you look pretty silly. They spent the money on the truck, they spent the money on the plow, but either it's not 4-wheel drive, or they got all-season tires on it, or something's not right. The truck just won't move through the heavy snow. It has to be jacked up a little bit, because when you're in deep snow, the truck is bottoming out in the snow, and you get stuck in the snow. So this is why I say try to find one that's already set up for snow plowing. I'm presuming that you don't know much about it. Try to find one all set up for plowing. Plow controller that works. Controller's $300 easy. Blinker lights, a decent blinker light is a couple $100. You can get cheap ones at Lowe's for $20. Just a yellow flasher, you put it on top of the truck. Jacked up some. It doesn't have to be crazy. You don't have to be 4 feet off the ground, but just jacked up just a little bit. Good tires are a big plus. If you have to go out and put new tires on it, you're looking at $1,000. Tires with big tread are very expensive. You don't want thick tires. What I've been told is snow plowers want thin tires because the thin tires cut through the snow. Big thick tires work like sleds, and they slow the truck down as it goes through the snow. So that's what I've been told. My truck came with 315s, and it looked cool, but after I researched it, I went with 285s. I think if I did it again, I'd probably go like 295s, maybe just a little bigger. Going from one size to the other, there's not much of a difference, inch, 3/4 inch, but going from 285 to 315, you can really tell the difference in the size of the tire. So I did a video on that if you're curious. This is what I was talking about earlier. The plow didn't have the strength to go through the snow. Some plows have 2 springs on the back. Some plows only have 1 spring. The 1 spring plows aren't as strong, so the double spring plows are stronger. You can push heavier snow. What the fella at that stone place said to me was his only had 1 spring, so it wouldn't push no snow. As he'd go through a parking lot, the plow would trip over all the time, and it couldn't push no heavy snow. 250, 2500's better for snow plowing. It's just a bigger truck, just got more power. It's built totally different underneath, from what I gather. I'm not a mechanical person, so this is what I was talking about earlier. I've seen a lot of rust buckets go for $5,000 or less. I wanted to go with a $5,000 truck. I was talked out of it by my family. What I found was they're rust buckets, but they sell. All of the ones that I looked at sold. So guys are buying them. The important part with the plow is make sure the hydraulics work. That would be the expensive part to fix. The hydraulic, that can be rebuilt. There's companies that specialize in that type of thing. There's that one guy on YouTube, they sell videos on how to rebuild them. So it's like a $30 video DVD. My plow is 8 foot. I've seen smaller ones, but it seems kind of big for driveways. Driveways in small town, they aren't that big. New houses usually have cement drives and they're double wide, so it might be okay for that. And the truck is kind of big too. So even though I say the 250s are better for plowing, the 8-foot plow in the 250 truck is kind of big for smaller driveways. So this is one of the important points. It depends on what you want to plow. Do you want to just do houses, or do you want to do commercial parking lots? If you plan on just doing houses, residential, then you might want to think about getting a smaller plow. Not really a Jeep. I looked around and I priced Jeeps, and they cost as much as a truck. so you might as well buy a truck. With mine, it would be real hard to get into smaller driveways, and it's kind of heavy too. It's like 8,000 pounds plus, so I'm kind of worried about damaging driveways. If there's a lot of mud or rain, just driving through there, plowing the snow would make some pretty big holes, and it could damage the cement. If the contractors cut corners on doing the driveway when they poured the cement. Mine, it would be better for parking lots because it's big and it's heavy. So, knowing what I know now, for doing houses, I would have went with a smaller truck. Smaller truck, smaller plow. Not that the plow is that much smaller. It might be like a half a foot smaller or a foot smaller. Now, if you're doing a parking lot, then it's kind of small, right? One fellow wrote in one of my videos that his F-150 overheats a lot when he has the plow on it and he drives on the highways. So that's what I was saying earlier. The F-150s aren't built for snow plowing. Now, that might be one of the older ones. Some of the newer ones, they're as big as my 250. If you have them side by side, the truck's still just as big as the 250. But it still might be different inside. The radiator might be bigger, the transmission might be bigger, and so on. Now, the important part there is, he said when he drives on the highway. He didn't say when he's plowing. When you snow plow, you have to be aware of the transmission temperature. There's actually a separate gauge on the dash for the transmission fluid temperature. If that temperature gets too hot, you're supposed to park the truck. So that's where that type of thing might come into play. Okay, something you might not think about is, where are you going to park it in the summer? Big plow, big truck fills up the whole driveway. So you're going to need a place to park it. Cover the plow up with a tarp and bungee cords in the summer to protect it from the sun, especially the hoses. With all this global warming stuff, the sun is a lot hotter than it used to be, so it rots out the hoses. So just throw a tarp over the plow, tie it down with some bungee cords or a rope or something. The fluid inside the hydraulics should be changed every year. There is a summer fluid you're supposed to put in, but everyone I talk to, they don't bother with the summer fluid. But I did read a comment just a few weeks ago. The guy said, change the fluid every year. That's where you get most of the problems. So, a quart of the hydraulic fluid costs like $5. I haven't done it yet, but from what I've seen, there's really not much to it. You drain it and you pour the other stuff in. So I called my local shop. He wants $100 to do it, but I think the garage that I usually go to for repairs, I think he'd probably do it a lot cheaper. And he also snow plows, so I'd feel fine bringing it there. You could find other uses for the truck in the summer, lawn care business or something like that, but then it wears out the truck. You got a $5,000-$10,000 plow on the front of the truck. Do you really want to wear it out during the summer? I had mentioned to a mechanic that I didn't plan on driving mine during the summer, And what he said to me was, he said, drive it a few times, because if not, you'll have transmission problems. And then change the differential fluid. Underneath the truck, where the axles come together, there's these differentials. I talked to the garage that I go to, and he said roughly $200. And I think he said there was 3 areas that they changed. Let's go ahead and look at AutoTrader. Okay, so here's AutoTrader.com. There's many car sites, but this is the one that I usually hang around. Click on more options here, and then this is the page that I like. See, they have all types of choices that you can choose from here. So I'm going to say within 100 miles of my zip code. I'm going to say used. I'm going to say under 12,000. Because then I'll try to get them down to 10,000. This part I usually don't bother with. And I'm going to say nothing older than usually 10 years is old enough. So 10 years would be 2006. So I'm going to say I'm going to go ahead with 2000, because I want to see what's out there. And here you can choose your types. We'll say Ford, F-250, Chevy, $250, and Ram, $250. Mileage I don't care about. Gotta be 4-wheel drive. Only gasoline. Diesel is great, but they cost a lot more to fix. You might like diesel. That's a personal preference. And then down here I'm going to type in Plow, see what comes back with Plow, and click search. And then here I'm going to say give me the lowest price one first. Let me make this page a little bigger. So you can see here's a 2003 Ram 79, 2003 Silverado for 82, 2004 Ram 85. So you can see there's some nice ones. 11, 8, 10. Okay, so there's only one page. So let's check this guy out here. You can see how it's got the smaller tires. Let's see if there's some more pictures here. You see how it's only got one spring? Usually with the trucks there's a lot of rust in the back. So that's not bad for 8,000. What I've seen a lot is lots of times the seats tore up here. So that's pretty common. Mine was tore up, and I've seen a few other trucks that part of the seat gets tore up because guys are always sliding in and out of it. So that's no big deal. The place that I found mine was at this website, dieseldirect.net. I found it on AutoTrader, but that brought me to this website. This was the actual dealer. It's a dealer on the west side of Cleveland, and I realize that most guys watching this won't live near this dealer, but I remember him saying to me that he's had people come as far as Michigan just to buy a truck here. So, you know, if you're saving thousands, it might be worth the trip. So, their search feature is the same type of thing. Go view inventory. And here I usually just go under 15. And then sort by price. 24, 3. Could choose trucks, but I just wanted to see what's out there. Okay, no plows under 15. We go under 20. This was the place I was saying they sold all their plows just before winter. Just to give you an idea of what's out there. 2007 for 15, 2006 for 16, 2006 for 20. So you can see, you know, that's getting up there, and that's with no plow. So I don't see any with plows. See, and it's not snowing a lot around here. I've hardly had any snow. I live on the southern shore of Lake Erie, and we normally get pounded with lake snow. We're talking like 100 inches a year, and we've lucky if we've had 10. I've seen a lot of plows at small dealers. So don't bypass the small dealers, you know, if you can find a good truck there. So, my neighbor just bought a used car from a small auto place, and what the salesman told him was all of the car sales stores in the area, he said they all go to the same auction. He said it's the same people week after week at the same car auctions. So you might want to consider the auctions. You know, If you can find someone who knows cars, who knows trucks, you can go to the auction, have someone with you that can tell if it runs, if there's something wrong with it. I think we'll call it a day for part 1. That took a little longer than I was hoping. Next time we'll start here just to skim through some of these so you get a general idea of what I'm planning on covering. Commercial license plates for the truck, commercial insurance, clean up your truck so you don't look like a bum, plow jobs. Are you going to do commercial jobs or residential jobs? New tires are always nice. You got a 10,000 pound truck, you don't want a tire to blow out, and you end up wrapping the truck around a telephone pole. You have to have some equipment on the truck, emergency equipment, tools, fire extinguishers, things like that. Salt, do you salt or don't you? That's a really big topic. How do you price for plowing? Snowplow wings, snowplow shoes. Do you want a straight plow? Do you want a V plow? You should put some weight in the bed. How much weight? What are the laws for your snowplow? Do you have to have a permit for your area? How to set up your business? Are you a sole proprietor? Are you a corporation? How do you keep your company records? Local plowing laws, some general points on starting a plow company. How do you learn to snowplow? So those are just some of the things we'll cover in future videos. Okay, see ya. Bye.